Randy Cross here, and we're going to have a little interview here, and it's a subject that's maybe a little off the radar for me, but I know there's a lot of people in this community and a lot of people in communities all over the country that love youth hockey. And joining me right now is Mike Lazano. He's the head coach of the Atlanta Fire 2005 Pee Wee Quebec team. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, what exactly, Atlanta Fire is a Pee Wee hockey team that's had some very nice success. The whole program's had a lot of nice success. Mm-hmm. But specifically to this Quebec tournament, what does it mean getting to play in something like this?
Yeah, so it's probably the most prestigious tournament that a kid could play in his youth hockey career. Several former NHL, current NHL players have made their bones or steps towards their career through this tournament. So it is an invitation-only tournament. There are thousands of hockey teams around the world that would love to play in this tournament at 12 and under, and there's only about 150 teams they select out of about thousands. So being able to go to another country that English is their second language, being able to stay with host families. The whole community in Quebec City gets involved with this tournament. So they have thousands of volunteers, families that open their homes for kids. They spend 10 days with a French-speaking family and learn the culture of French Canada. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, playing against teams from Sweden, Germany, Australia, obviously Canada, Russia, all over the world, and being able to learn and understand different cultures from around the world while competing.
Yeah, so the analogy would be for most regular sports fans, this is Williamsport, Pennsylvania. This is the Little League World Series of youth hockey.
Absolutely, for sure.
And how do you go about actually, A, getting there, B, what's the ticket? I mean, it's got to be an expensive thing to bring a whole hockey team up to Quebec, and the tournament was about a week long.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, the tournament could last 2 games, and you're eliminated out of the tournament. Yeah. But we've been fortunate enough to have an invitation to this tournament for the past 16 years. It started back in 2001, and with some of the founding guys here at the Cooler or here at the Atlanta Fire, and every year we go up as ambassadors to the Southern United States hockey people, and retain those relationships with the people that run that event, and that allows us to have that bid every year. I mean, it's not a guarantee, nothing is ever, but we've been fortunate enough to have a team that has been participating in that tournament for the last 16 years. So getting the ticket to go is really about the cross-pollination of American and Canadian families, and committing to spending time, not just treating it like another tournament, actually engulfing ourselves with French-speaking families and putting the kids there. So a lot of teams don't do that. A lot of teams stay in a hotel the whole time. And that gets twice as expensive as it would if you were hosting your kids with a French family. We obviously do a lot of fundraising with regard to building that trip. So that trip is a separate event for the rest of our season.
Right.
With regard to our budgets.
Well, in relation to fundraising in general and the tournament in general, where do people go to find out more about A, the Atlanta Fire, and B, the Quebec trip specifically?
Yeah, so on our Atlanta Fire hockey website, atlantafirehockey.com, we have information about our particular team. We also have a Facebook page, Atlanta Fire Pee Wee Quebec team, that you can follow. And there is where we put most of our information with regard to silent auctions that we had. We had a golf tournament earlier in the season that helped raise some money. We've got a bunch of local professional athletes that have donated, swag for us to be able to promote and help raise money, because it costs, the budget that we set aside for this trip is about $30,000 to $40,000 for that 10 days. So it's not a weekend event. So that's why we're doing as much as we can. Our Atlanta Fire Quebec team specifically is a nonprofit group, so that way we're able to help with tax deductions for those donators.
Now, part of the stuff you silent auction is sports related. I know you've got a Glavin, Maddox, and Smoltz autograph Hall of Fame baseball,
yes,
and
sir,
some other stuff. You got some hockey related stuff also, right?
Correct. Yeah, we've been fortunate enough to have some relationship with the Nashville Predators, and their existing team signed a jersey for us to be able to auction off. Tom Barrasso signed a stick, Hall of Fame goaltender with the Penguins, won 2 Stanley Cups with them, and we've also have obviously some Major League Baseball players that have donated some things. So we're really fortunate to be able to have the opportunity to go to this tournament, but at the same time teach these kids about what it takes to commit to something like that.
Yeah.
In their young life experiences.
Well, again, how do I find the silent auction? How do I find more information?
No, I appreciate that. So AtlantaFireHockey.com is where we're going to have information that we're going to broadcast, as well as the on Facebook page, Atlanta Fire Pee Wee Quebec. That's where you're going to find the information on the silent auction that will be up and running in the next couple days, and it'll last for a couple of weeks.
One of the things I found interesting is the title, Atlanta Fire 2005 Pee Wee Quebec Team. But being 11 and 12-year-olds, the 2005 references, that's the year they have to be born in?
Correct.
The oldest they can be to play in this tournament, right?
Correct. So everybody in this tournament internationally and in North America is born in that birth year in 2005 or less. So all the boys on my team are 12 years old, and this is their last year Pee Wee before they get into big boys hockey when it becomes full contact and everything else like that. So this is kind of when you're going through your minor hockey career, this would be the pinnacle of your experience up to this point, because there has been no opportunity to do any kind of national championship tournaments at our age. So once we get older, then they'll go ahead and start being able to do other things like that. But they really won't. International play under 16 is almost impossible unless you really want to spend some money.
Yeah. And you know, at your level, you mentioned the whole full contact coming in the junior phase of life for hockey players. I would assume most of that's done because of concussions, because of that contact not being very good for the young body. Is that something that you're actually trained in as a coach?
Yeah, so we go through a protocol to become a coach within USA Hockey around concussion protocol, around safe sport, and creating a safe environment for these young soon-to-be men or young boys to be able to play in. There was a time, I'd say maybe 6 years ago, when there was full contact at the 12 and under age, and there was tons of injuries because the kids are going through a different life cycle at that point. Some are maturing faster than others. So if you have an 11-year-old kid who just turned 11 years old playing against a kid that's getting ready to turn 13, and you're playing full contact, kids were getting a lot of concussions. Kids were getting a lot of cervical injuries, cervical neck injuries, because of the way that they just can't. They're just not mature enough to understand.
The disparity of development until you get to about that 16-year-old is ridiculous, and you see that in Pee Wee football.
Yes,
all-star games and stuff where you just get this monstrous kid that's basically an adult.
Yes, that's right. And so when you have that at that age, it doesn't make a fair playing field. So we wait. The organization, our governing body, USA Hockey, moved that age to 13 and 14 and higher to be full contact.
Okay.
So that way kids are a little bit more developed physically.
So again, it's AtlantaFireQuebec.com
So it's Atlanta Fire Quebec team as far as on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Yes. Atlanta Fire Pee Wee Quebec.
Or AtlantaFireHockey.com.
Yes, correct. That's correct.
That's fantastic. Mike, really appreciate you joining us.
Scott.
Best of luck to you guys.
Thank you.
And what do you say you win it?
Well, the last time I coached there was about 12 years ago, maybe. I took a team to the semifinal, one game away to the final.
Yeah.
I feel my team this year is stronger than that team I took in 2006. So from my perspective, I'm pretty optimistic we're going to make it to the further rounds.
Well, fantastic. Thanks for joining us, and we'll have you back on with the trophy.
I appreciate that, Scott.
All right.
Thank you. I look
Thanks,
forward
Mike.
to that.
Appreciate it.
All right.